I'm Kelly from Boom Boom Pop, and I'm sitting here with Arif from Protest the Hero. And we're going to talk a little bit about the new album. So I hear you guys are in the studio, and I was just wondering how your album's coming along.
Well, the guitarists are still tinkering away at I presume doing overdubs right now, but I figure in the next week or so we should be starting the vocals, which means that I'd say we're about 75% of the way through, and I couldn't be more excited about it. Although I'm at the stage where I'm finished everything that I have to do, and I just have to kind of sit around and twiddle my thumbs until they give me the call and tell me that I actually have something to do left. But no, we got the drums and bass finished a few weeks ago, and then the guitars took over, and vocals are last, and then mixing, mastering, manufacturing, distribution, CD release show, and the beginning of the album cycle.
So aside from a CD release show, how else are you guys going to promote the CD?
I think probably through the usual tactics of sort of some internet campaigns, and we've always been very fortunate to have decent street teamers and things like that. We have a pretty enthusiastic fan base. So, I mean, other than that, one thing that I think is important, and bands usually do have some structure set up like this, is that we do a lot of sort of update videos and things like that, and try and keep people involved during the actual recording process, because then it gives them something to look forward to, and it actually sort of ensures that we are on top of things. Unfortunately, our fans have to wait a long time in between CDs because we just work kind of slowly. But rest assured, anyone out there who's watching this, that it is coming out, and I would say by March of next year, we'll have some new material for people to listen to.
So how would you describe the sound on the new CD? Have you guys experimented with anything, or is it same old Protest sound?
Well, we're kind of at the critical third album stage, you know, and this is, it's supposed to be sort of a bit of a nervous wreck for most bands, because your first album, everyone kind of forgives you a little bit. And your second album, you refine some of the elements of the first album. But the third one, it necessitates a certain kind of change. Where we've always lucked out is that since we got started so early, all of our albums sound pretty different from one another. I think one way, and I've probably said it before, I think I remember reading that somebody asked Michelangelo once how you carve an elephant. And he said, you look at a block of marble and you cut away anything that doesn't look like an elephant. And I think that we kind of apply the same process with every album, that we jettison aspects that weren't working with the band, and we incorporate new ones that we think are going to work, in hopes of trimming the fat around whatever that idyllic Protest the Hero sound actually is. I don't look at it as so much of a pushing force as a pulling force, that we're being drawn into something that hopefully will be our best material. And for what it's worth, I think that the songs are a lot more mature this time around, and that we've applied better songwriting techniques, and hopefully our audience will have matured with us a little bit as well.
So in terms of inspiration for your CD that's coming out, what has inspired your songs and the sound that's coming out?
Well, you know, it was never really a conscious effort, but we realized at one point that we were doing a lot of tours with these crabcore kids that would come out and just want to throw down and things like that. And they were kind of throwing us into this sort of formulaic hardcore and metalcore kind of thing. And although we've never really shunned any labels, we've never really tried to approach any one of them either. So I think this time around, one thing that was important to us was to diversify the harmonic palette, to not rely so much on sort of chugging on our lowest note, which I think is sort of the ebb and flow of a lot of the genre. So we've tried to explore the fretboard a little bit more. I think that some of the guitar geeks out there are going to approve of where we're going, but then some of the straight brim, hardcore short wearing audience will probably be pretty critical of it, you know? It's okay, screw them anyway, right?
So when it comes to writing a song, how do you guys begin? Do you start with lyrics, or do you start off from a riff that one of you come up with?
A riff. Well, it actually does start, and I've said in numerous interviews that it starts with a riff, and I point at myself. But no, that is typically how it is. It's very string-driven music, so oftentimes the guitarists or myself will have an idea of a pattern that we want to play, something that sounds kind of nice, and we kind of create a bank of riffs and draw on those at various points in the songwriting process. It's like sometimes if you can just make a beginning to a song, the rest of it will kind of write itself. But we have been more conscious this time around of having repeating themes, of having sort of more palpable song structures that kind of make a lot more sense. Now, I already know that by saying that, people are going to think that we're falling into the status quo and kind of writing like commercially viable music or something like that. And I can tell those people that we're not, but we're trying to approach it as songwriters more than we have in the past. I think that one of the problems that we had on our first album is that we were really ambitious players and we were playing outside of our abilities. And we thought sometimes that changing tempos and changing keys and changing time signatures equaled a good song, but that's not necessarily the case. I think it's about how tastefully you can change the tempo, how tastefully you can change these parts, you know, especially when you're dealing with a genre that is so steeped in excess, so steeped in kind of pushing the limits and pushing the envelope. It becomes increasingly challenging to write music that at the same time has some of the flash and the bang and the chops, but also has sort of feeling and emotion and isn't something that's, you know, some guy wanking around on a guitar. But with that being said, there's plenty of wanking around on the guitar.
Awesome. So you spoke about songs having themes. Would you say that your album has a certain theme?
Sonically, absolutely it does. I think that a lot of the past 10 years in this band has been trying to discover what that intangible element that makes a Protest the Hero song. Because like you said, there is some line of consistency throughout it all. There is a kind of a Protest the Hero sound, but it's not necessarily one that can be defined too well, or I think that can be vocalized too well. So, I mean, yeah, I think in terms of themes for this new album is we're playing around with subdivisions a lot more. That is to say, like, we'll have songs that maintain a certain tempo for a lot longer, but then play within the beats of that tempo. And I think for the most part, people will just assume that it's sort of similar to the other stuff with tempos sort of flying all over the place, but it's actually not. And hopefully, I mean, the effort is that that's smarter songwriting. And I mean, I would say that we've written a smarter album, but I do truly believe it.
So you guys have received a lot of airplay on the Much Music channel, and I was just wondering, with all the kind of media attention you've received through the airwaves, if that's kind of influenced the album at all or changed you guys as a band?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think that we've been incredibly lucky and sort of have stuck out because the music that we write and perform, while there is an element that's commercially viable, it doesn't exactly make sense on Much Music. It doesn't make sense on these sort of mainstream outlets. But maybe that speaks to the Canadian audience. Maybe that speaks volumes about where people want to be with music these days. I don't think that people are as comfortable with the status quo as they have been in the past, and it's afforded us an opportunity to write the music that we want to write and write the music that we want to hear and still be able to perform it at a level that where other bands are writing what people are telling them to write. We've never had anyone breathe down our neck and say, you got to write a song that's 3.5 minutes, you got to write a song that has a chorus. Actually, a lot of our songs don't have choruses.
So you guys are from Whitby, right? What would you suggest to other artists or bands out there who are from smaller towns such as Whitby who are trying to make it in the music industry?
You know what? The music industry is a sinking ship, and I think a lot of people know it as well. And as it goes down, I guess they say the night is darkest before the dawn. I think as it goes down, there's going to be a lot of people who are clinging on to some old models of the music industry, saying that if you plug in these variables into the equation, all of a sudden you're going to create a successful record. And that isn't true. I really think that the only people who have true authority to govern the direction of a song are the people who are writing it. So what I would suggest to any young band, especially if they're trying to make a name in sort of progressive rock and whatever, is to not exactly listen to people. You're going to get advice from people, and if it's something you can agree with, that's one thing. But if it's something that you feel uncomfortable with, and I mean you, if it's something that one feels uncomfortable with, then they should leave it alone. They should, I mean, I guess it sounds sort of like hippie talk, but you kind of have to follow your heart and follow your ears with these things. It may not put you on stage opening up for U2, but it will definitely, at the end of the day, produce an organic and an honest product, and people do pick up on that. You know, I think dogs pick up on that, you know?
Yeah. So how did you guys start out? Were you discovered?
I wouldn't even say that we were really discovered. I think that our sort of seed was just suburban boredom. I think we had sort of two choices. It was either to get involved in hard drugs or to like start a band. So we kept with the soft drugs and decided to kind of like play music with one another. And it was really crude and bad. If you can imagine like 13-year-olds writing ska music with trombone parts, like it's caterwauling, you know, it was pretty brutal. And I'd like to take this little moment to say thank you to all of our parents for dealing with the horrible noises that we made for so many years growing up. But no, I mean, we never really were discovered in that sense. I mean, what we used to do as kids was promote shows and put ourselves on. We'd bring a band that was like bigger than us, and then we'd put ourselves as like the opening band. And then one day we brought a band called Closet Monster on, and one of the fellows in Closet Monster really kind of dug our sound and energy and said that he was starting a record label and would we be interested. So we met at a coffee time by the highway, and they said that they would promise us $200 for video support, and that blew our minds considering it took me like, you know, a long time at Walmart to like earn $200. So I don't know, and that was kind of the beginning for it. Like I've said it before, and I'll probably say it again. Our success, or whatever you want to call it, is very much the union of good luck and hard work. We did work really hard. We did tour and eat shit for a decade, but then at the same time, there are those qualities that are outside of the hard work. We did get really lucky and meet a lot of good people and have a very receptive audience. I'm Arif from Protest the Hero, and you are watching Boom Boom Pop.